Hello and welcome back to Coach's Corner. This is a podcast designed for professional coaches looking to develop themselves in the fitness industry and improve their one-to-one coaching business. In this episode, I'm joined by special guest Ronni McKay, and we share our advice on what to do once you pass your level 3. So Ronni has been in the fitness industry for over 20 years now. She has spent the last 15 years of that in GymBox, and that's how Ronni and I have met each other. So as well as running her own self-employed PT business, Ronni also is an educator for the GymBox PT Academy, and she coordinates the GymBox recruitment days, which we both work on. So let's get her on. Where is she? There she is. Hello, Ronni. How are you?
Hi, Derek. I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Right, welcome to the podcast. So, like I said, the point of this podcast is to talk and give advice on what to do once you pass your level 3. And we was having a bit of a discussion about this the other day in work, and you're going to meet some course providers soon and just talk and give a speech about how they can get in the industry, and I thought that'd be quite a good podcast for us to do. So the way I like to run my podcast, I like to kind of make 3 clear topics and then kind of work through them. So what we're going to do first, let's talk about what options people have once they pass level 3. How to actually apply for a PT position, and then how to build out a business plan. I think that'd be a good structure for this podcast. So let's talk about options first. So people have just passed a level 3, they're just coming in the industry. Where do you start? Where do you start with thinking of what you're going to do? What would your kind of advice be on that?
Well, I would always say to people, go back to why you want to be a trainer first of all. Look at what your motivation was to do the role. When you know why and who you want to train, then you can place yourself in the best facility. So, some people don't want to be attached to a gym. Some people might just want to do a few family, friends, etc. in the parks, or they're in homes. So if that's the type of business you want to run on a freelance basis, then that's, an easy option for some people at the beginning. Alternatively, you can go into a gym. There's several models that you can do that on. There's the employed model, which is where the gym will charge the member for the session, and the trainer will get some of that money for the session, a percentage of the money.
Yeah, let's talk about these options actually. I think that's going to flow on quite well. So let's talk about all the options that's available. So once you decide your why and kind of what job do you want to do, are you doing it for your own personal knowledge? Because I know some people have done a PT course just for themselves, right? Some people have just done it.
Loads of people.
And never actually got into the industry. Some do the course and don't really know what to do next, and then they never join the industry. Like they do it as whilst they're doing a full-time job and never transition over. But like I said, once you find your why and your purpose of doing the course, then it's easier to kind of have a form of direction. So let's go through all the models available. I think the easiest one to start off with is the freelance, mobile, PT in the park type of option. That a lot of people tend to start there sometimes, don't they?
I was going to say that's a good starting point for people, because first of all, when someone says to their friends and family and colleagues that I've become a trainer or I've qualified, you're going to get a few, I'd like to train with you. So of course you're not attached to any particular establishment. So okay, let me come to your home, or let me take you to a park. Of course there's the old boot camps that go on in parks, so that's where a lot of people start doing outdoor training. And that is an option to start with, because it's really a good idea to see if you like doing the role, because sometimes you start training people and maybe you don't enjoy it. So before you kind of commit to something, is quite a good way to understand if it's something that you want to continue with.
I think what we can do actually, it's something to kind of mind. If we list all the models, then we can go back and do some pros and cons to each. So we'll list them all first. Okay, so freelance, mobile, PT, and then we've got the employed model, where the employed model is you work for a gym. So in London, where we work, I guess the main employers are Virgin, Equinox, David
Third
Lloyd,
Space.
I think, and Third Space. So that's where the client pays the gym and the gym pays the trainer. That's basically the best way to sum up.
Which I think people need to be aware of, which we'll discuss in detail.
We will discuss, yeah. So you've got the employed model where you work for a gym, and then you've got like studio employed models. Do you want to explain what that is?
Yeah. So a studio essentially is where they're just featuring personal training. Quite often it will be transformations. So
Mm.
people will offer people to come in and do a complete transformation package, which is normally anywhere between 3 and 6 months. The studio will organize all that consultation with the
Hmm.
client and all of the correspondence. They will then allocate that client to one of the trainers in house, and
Hmm.
they will then deliver the programs for the studio in line with what that consultation was and what the client was looking to achieve. It's kind of limited in terms of what you can do creatively in terms of your, but we'll discuss that
Yeah,
again. But but it's
yeah.
kind of it's a model where you don't have the design element over the programs, but you do get the clients.
You get the clients, and then you get the education of learning what another model is. So that's the
And
studio.
normally a salary role as well. It's normally a paid salary.
Yeah, because they're going to guarantee you the work. So that's the studio
Yeah.
employed. Something that's very like it's not really that new, but it's definitely blew up over the last 2 years is the online only model, whether that looks like online via Zoom or just online programming. A lot of people
Yeah.
are getting into training and just going straight onto online programming. Some people do a hybrid, very much on the courses I run. I always like promote doing a hybrid because I quite like doing the programming side. So we have one-to-one personal training in a gym somewhere, and then you just program for other trainers. But some people just go online only. And then you've got your favorite model, the freelance
the
self-employed
the
model.
free, yeah, for many
Yeah, so,
reasons, which I'll list
so
here. Yeah, that's obviously where you pay a rent towards the gym to access the members and the facilities, and then you run your business completely independently within that establishment.
good. So we'll do some pros and cons of these because there is a right model for everybody, and it comes back to your why and what you're kind of looking for and where you want to work and what support you need at the time. And they all have their pros and cons. So let's start off with the freelance mobile PT in the park, going to people's houses. I'd say the biggest, not the issue, but like so something was kind of a bit of a barrier after a while of this is, you can only carry so much kit to the park. You only got access to so much equipment, and with limited access comes limited opportunity for development, for that
Yeah,
client.
of
There's
course, and exactly, the creativity is limited as well because you only have so many things you can do with a band and a couple of dumbbells. Um,
Yeah.
so the outdoor training and mobile training I did for many years at the beginning of my career, and it did service me well at the time
Hmm.
because at the time I was a mum and I had young children, so time wise it really helped me. I could work around my kids' nursery and schooling. So again, the why and what type of trainer do you want to be? What are your restrictions? So if you have sort of childcare or you have other work commitments, a freelance model outside can be beneficial. The negatives, however, are it's all lovely in the summer, not so
Yeah.
much fun in November and December when
No,
you're
it's
there at
tough
6 o'clock in
winters.
the morning and it's -4.
Yeah.
And that's not the best way to start your day. Some people don't mind getting up early in the cold. I
Hmm.
found it quite, not the most motivational way to start my day.
Yeah.
Also, what a lot of people don't factor into the mobile element is a lot of your time is wasted on traveling. So,
Yeah.
you
Bouncing
know,
around different clubs.
essentially, yeah, essentially, for us as PTs, time is money. And if we have a client in one part of London and another client in another part of London, it can take 4 or 5 hours a day just on traveling
Yeah.
between clients. So that's 4 or 5 hours you could be seeing other clients. So that
Group
effectively does affect your rate per hour.
yeah, group exercise instructors suffered this massively because they might not have as a personal trainer, say a Monday peak time, it's very doable for us to do a 5, 6, 7, 8 back to back 4 sessions in a go, where a group exercise instructor can't normally get back to back gym sessions. So they might do 5 o'clock one, travel for an hour, then go to another gym. That might
Yeah.
only just be down the road, but they end up just, if you look at their graph throughout London
Yeah,
during the day, they're all over the place and it's quite
yeah, they're
exhausting.
all over the central line, and I think that
Yeah.
if you don't want to do PT, of course, classes is an option. But I would always recommend if you're going to be a class instructor, try to lock in a double or a triple class back to back somewhere.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're literally spending more on travel than you are on actually earning.
It is tough just constantly running around all day. Okay, and then you've got the employed model. So the employed model, you know, there is a sense of security people feel with the employed model because they work for the gym. But some gyms might do an initial period where you're on, say, a salary of some form while you're doing stuff for the gym. But really, all the employed models are still 0 hour contracts because you're only going to get paid once you deliver a session, and then a percentage of what you deliver goes to the gym, a percentage comes to you. Or you're on a tier-based system, so you work your way up. So you might join as a tier 1 instructor, and then you might have a tier 1, 2, 3, 4 master trainer level, and then you jump in at one of those tiers, and then you get paid based on what tier system you're on. So the employed model has its benefits of potentially looking like it's more of a secured role because you don't have any outgoings, and you do have, I guess, a benefit is it can feel like you're getting looked after a bit more because you've got a different management system in place. But you also got to remember, going into deployed, that doesn't mean security. That means you're still on 0 hours, and you've got to do you've still got to grow your own business. You've still got to have this self-employed entrepreneur mindset still going into that role.
I think what a lot of people are unaware of, and sorry to interrupt with that model, which, as you say, it's a very good selling point for that model, is that you don't have to pay rent. You know, and that's, of course, a lot of people want to hear immediately, I don't have to pay anything. But of course, everything comes at a cost. You know, I, as yourself, we are very, involved in the whole, process of what recruiting people. So we're always looking at what other models involved. And I've looked closely at some of the employed models. And for example, the other day I was reading a job application for an employed role. 40 hours was required. Out of those 40 hours, you could PT for 8.
Yeah.
And that's at a very small percentage of what the club is getting paid. So say the club is getting paid £70 for the PT session, you're likely to get anywhere between 15 and 25 of that £70. So that's 8 hours you can earn between 15 and 25 pounds. And then the rest of your time is cleaning the gym floor, doing reception, doing stuff like that. So I'm not saying there's not pluses to doing an employed model. There certainly is, especially if you want to trial whether it's for you, if you don't want to have any initial, layout, and you're not sure if, what model you want to do. There's no expense to you initially, but you have to be very informed on what you're getting involved in, because I feel like a lot of times people go into the employed model without all of the information. So if you do want to do it, that's fine, and there's benefits to it, but make sure you're fully informed.
Yeah, and I talk about my career. I started off at Virgin Active in Clapham Common. That's an employed model, and I was at Virgin for 2.5 years, and I loved everything about Virgin. I loved the setup they had. I enjoyed the team aspect. I enjoyed there's different targets and different things happen when you're employed, and I enjoyed all of that. But I just reached a point where it wasn't the right model for me anymore, and then I wanted to move on. But I know some of the there's some great employed models out there, but again, you've got to just look at the pay scale. And some of the employed models are, you're committing to that company. So if you're going to join that company, it's only worth if you want to do your whole career there, so you can work your way up as a tier of trainer. So there's no point going into.
There's a limitation. Yeah.
So I wouldn't. If you wanted to go for an employed model, you've got to say, right, I love this company and what it stands for. I'm going to commit here because I'm going to join as a tier 1, for example. The real money comes in at tier 3, tier 4 master trainer, but I'm going to work my way up and be there. And then you see your career like that. And if you're someone that likes a career tree and a structure, that can be quite appealing. But there's no point joining that and jumping around. You've got to join that and commit your time, and then it works out good in the end. But it's just something worth considering. But yeah,
I would say there's a shelf life on that role as well, because I do think that, exactly as you said, like, you get to a point when you are, okay, I've now been doing the job for 4 years, and I would like to, receive all of the money that I'm getting from my session, simply because I'm pouring my heart and soul into it, and I'm working really hard, and I want to be able to do my own stuff in my own time. So I do totally agree that there's definitely benefits to that model, especially for people that are unsure where they want to go with it, and they like the security of being within a company. Yeah. But if you do want to progress, your career, it's not a long-term thing, I would say, for most people.
Again, pros and cons to the employed. Then you got the studio employed, and this is where somebody's had this idea. Somebody's had this, right, this is the best way to train. This is the way we're going to work with a client, and laid everything out to the T. So you join. They're I don't want to say too many brands whilst we're on this, but
let's not speak of anyone particularly. Yeah.
But
I think we both know who we're talking about.
But they'd have like this clear layout of of what a journey would look like with a client. And I love that. I love the idea of that. And when we do recruitment days, we ask people, okay, what does a client's journey look like you? What's your process? So someone would have built all these processes out, and then you get a trainer and they'll mold them to teach their processes. And we've had trainers come from a studio employed model to us in the self-employed rent, and they've come with, I kind of like that, the way they did that. I would adjust a few things, but they come with this complete model of how to train somebody. So again,
Absolutely.
that's quite good.
It's a great education for them.
Yeah, so again, that would come at a cost of, you're not getting paid per session, but also the gym's doing quite a lot for you, and you've got to follow their way of doing things because they've got to protect the brand, protect what they're offering. So that's why everything has to be ticked off in this way, to make sure that every member's getting the same product. But with that, as a trainer, you learn this. Somebody's made all the processes. You've learned that. There might be slight career development there, but probably that'd be limited as well because you're working for somebody's idea. But that's not a bad place to start to learn your way. And then if you were to do your own thing later on, you've got a structured template to at least go off. But again, that will come at a cost of, potential earnings would be capped at a certain point. Right.
And creativity, and
Yeah.
I don't want to say ownership over clients because we don't own our clients, but there
No.
is a relationship with clients, and we own that relationship, and
Yeah.
we own that commitment to them personally. For me, that the trust and the loyalty and the relationship with a client is a huge part of what we do, and I don't feel that you can entirely achieve that in that model fully, but I do think that I
Yeah.
totally agree that it's a fantastic education, to really learn how to create a particular, business model. Because even if you go in and you want to be a trainer independently as your own boss later on, you can learn a good business ethic and how to run the programming side of it, and
Hmm.
how to get the clients and watch how they pitch for people and stuff like that. So there's a lot to be learned in that model for sure. If you're lucky enough to get into a good studio that treat you well, then there's a lot of benefits. But again, limited on, I don't think I've ever really come across anyone more than two or three people in my life that have stayed in that model as a PT for more than 10 years,
Yeah.
because ultimately at some point you say, I just want my own clients.
Yeah. I just want to do my own thing. Yeah.
And I want, it's not even a monetary thing. Of course, there's a monetary aspect, but it's just how sometimes you'll go to work and you'll be doing one client, the next day you'll be given another client, and it's very broken
Hmm.
up, that connection with people. So it's just very nice to be able to see that journey all the way through with people, which you don't always get the opportunity in that model.
Agree. Okay. So then we got online. So online, like I said, let's take away online Zoom because that is still super new. I'm on about just online programming. You just do programming. Now this is for somebody that has a lot of experience programming. Programming is
Yeah,
incredibly
got to know your
hard.
stuff.
You've got to know your stuff. Programming is incredibly hard. You've got to be very disciplined with processes, because you never get to see someone in person. You never get to
Hmm.
naturally just check in with them. So you've got to have days and times listed of when you're going to check ins, when you're going to follow up. And with programming it comes from not just education, but a long period of trial and error. So I think sometimes if you think you can just go straight into programming, you can hit a lot of walls really quickly. But I'm a fan of like the hybrid model because I'm a fan of having a home where you train out, you meet one-to-one clients, you do the job in person, and then you also um, run online programming only alongside that. But
For
just doing
sure, yeah.
just maybe doing online programming on its own can be quite a tough place
Well,
to
again,
start.
it's what type of trainer do you want to be? Because if you want to be a trainer that literally sits by a computer and gives people the
Hmm.
information, and again, as you said, you need to know your stuff. You cannot I mean, I generally personally don't think that you could do that unless you've had experience in face to face,
Yeah.
because you've got to see how a body works. You've got to understand a person's ability. What you can program for one person, they might not be able to do it technically because their
Yeah.
body won't, limitations won't allow it. So
Yeah.
you have to be able to speak to that person, really consult with them, and really find out what they're capable of doing before you
Hmm.
issue them. And you've got to be confident that what you're going to give them will deliver what they want, because you're not there to monitor it all the time. So you have to
Yeah.
go, I'm going to give you this program for a month. We will check in, but ultimately you're doing my work. I have to know that what I'm giving you is effective.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
I do think that programming is, it's a very safe place to be, and I totally agree. The hybrid model, with lockdown, had I not have gone onto Zoom and programming, we wouldn't have had a business.
No,
So
no.
we had to use that opportunity. So I'm a big fan of it now, but I wouldn't want to do it just for that, because it doesn't suit my personality. But for some
Yeah.
people, it may.
Yeah. Okay, so then we move on to the last option, which is the freelance self-employed rent model. This is where um, the gym opens up the gym for self-employed people to run their business out the gym. So as a self-employed person, you don't work for that company. You're licensing the space to run their business, and that's the type of model we offer at GymBox. So the trainers come in, they license the space, they get access because they're assigned to that gym and licensing that gym. They get access to the model. The members, they get access to gym floor itself, and they've not got to worry about trying to find. Oh, we've not even talked about finding clients yet with like
Yeah, that's a whole.
the
Well, I was going to bring that up now.
yeah, with the freelance mobile model. So like PT in the park. One thing you
Exactly.
limit is
That's one of
you
the.
got to
Where'd you
you got
get
to
those
find
people
your
from?
you got to find your own business. Where in the self-employed model, we're talking from a gym box perspective, but I've also worked for Fitness First in a self-employed rent-based model. There's Pure Gym, Anytime, the Gym Group. They're all self-employed rent-based models. And with any of these gyms, there's armies of salespeople that are always trying to get new members in. So you're licensing the space, you get access to all the gym kit, and then you've got a sales team always putting new members in. So with the self-employed model, you pay a license fee normally once a month to the gym. I say normally because when I was in Fitness First, I had to pay weekly. So it's either weekly
Yeah,
or 1
or
month
bi-weekly. I think it's, yeah, yeah.
it's weekly when I was in Fitness First, or it's
Yeah,
a
I
month
think it's bi-weekly, but I don't know.
or
I
monthly.
think
They
now
pay a
they've
one-off
changed it, but I'm
fee.
not sure.
Monthly, you pay a one-off fee, and then you run your business however you want. You charge what you want. You make up your own package list to whatever suits you as a trainer. You can run the hybrid model and do some online programming. You can teach classes. You run your business however you want, and then you have a fee that you pay the gym to use that space. That's what the self-employed model is. Do you want to dive into the pros and cons of a self-employed freelance model?
Okay, so let's be real. Okay, self-employed is not for everyone, not even in personal training, but in any industry. Okay, have to want to run your own business. So
Need to be a
this is
different
where
animal.
I think a lot of. Yeah, you do. No, you do. And this is the thing that I think this is what's really important that we want to talk to you guys now, finishing courses, is that's why it's really important to go back to your why. What and why do you want to do this job? Because if you want to do this job because you want to be able to be completely self-employed, not answerable to anybody else, have those long-term committed relationships with clients, be creative and be able to, do your own programming, turn up at whatever hours of the day you wish to do, work around whatever time restraints you have. There's so many pros, right? Your earning potential is uncapped, because guess what? If you want more money, you just go out and work harder and get more money. It's not like a salary job where you're going to earn £2,000 a month and then say something happens in your life and you need more money. That gym's not going to give you more money. But for us as self-employed people, if something happens, I'm like, gosh, I need more clients. What do I do? Oh, there they are. There's a gym full of people. I go and get some more clients. So you're as busy as you want to be, and you're successful as you make it. So there's many benefits, which is a reason for I've been doing 25 years. I've been doing self-employed. I've done it under mobile. I've done it under different gyms. Not because I hate the employed model, but just because it didn't work within my personality, my time constraints. Plus, I wanted to be in control of what I earn. So, I had X amount of money I needed to make a month, and I needed to be in control of that. I still do. So, that's the only way I could get full control over that factor. Let's talk about the negatives. In any freelance model, as you said, how do you get clients? Okay, if you're in the park, if you're in a budget gym or a premium gym, you still have to generate clients yourself. So this is where a lot of people find this is a stopping block for them. In different models, like we particularly offer a big help in that area. I think some other self-employed models offer some kind of business help and support. I'm not too sure how in depth that is these days. I can only speak about what we offer. We make sure that everyone is very, very set up for that generating clients. I know you do the courses, I do the workshop, and it's very important for us. If someone wants to be self-employed, then and they don't have the experience but they have the skills, we can guide them along the process. When I first started in self-employed in a gym, a PT manager that I had at the time, had I not have had him there, would I still be doing it self-employed in a gym? I don't know, because he taught me exactly what to do, and without that guidance and advice, I'm not sure I'd still be here. So that's how important it is.
Yeah, you're right, because like there will be a lot of the self-employed clubs that don't have a PT manager. They don't have that support system. They don't have like any courses or anything to do when they join. But that's also because you are joining as a self-employed person. You are just running a business and licensing a space. Now, this is not a promo for GymBox as much, even though we will come from the GymBox side, but like something we're trying to do, and the mission of what we've created in the GymBox Academy is we are offering a self-employed we're offering a self-employed option with the infrastructure of an employed management system. So we are by far, this is something we're trying to develop as a company. We're offering people the chance to be self-employed and run their business, but with the support structure of a management system. So we've got courses, PT managers in club, mentors to go to, and that's just something we're trying to put on at GymBox. And I say this ain't a promo for GymBox, because GymBox is not for everybody, because it needs to come down to your why, what type of model you want to be in, and then if we suit what you're looking for, then you can apply, and then we can see if we're the right fit. But if you do come to GymBox, what we try to do is just add in that extra line of support, which as a self-employed person you shouldn't really get, but it's just something we are deliberately putting in and making it a nice combo of a management support system whilst you're running your own business. But that's like a little spin-off that we're trying to do and offer as part of our academy. So let's talk about your first steps then. Right, you've just done your level 3. First step, you need to choose the right model for you. So take on board everything we said. There's freelance, mobile, employed studio, online only, or freelance self-employed model. Once you've decided this is the right path, then you need to choose your club. How do you choose a club, Ronni?
Well, many reasons. Where do you live? How much travel time do you want to go to work every day? So if I made a conscious decision from in 2004 to go into London from working locally. So that changed my entire business. I gave up a business I'd built up, but at the beginning of my career, it suited me to be local. So you look at what type of people you want to train: local, corporate, residential. How much time do you want to spend traveling? How much time can you donate to being in a club all day? Because if you pick a club that's 10 minutes around the corner from where you live, you could effectively cover all 3 peak shifts of a gym all day, because you could do a morning shift, go home and have a sleep, come back and do lunch and do evening. So it's really how much time do you want to spend in club? How far away do you want to be? What type of person do you want to train? Do you want to, do you relate to sort of the mums after drop off time? Do you want to go to a club like a residential area where mums are going to drop their kids at school and then go to the gym and have a workout? Or, dads that might be, or men, not mums and dads exclusively, but males or females, that might be, sorry, I'm talking as a mother point of view, but, you might have sort of like different, do you want to train more men? Do you want to train more women? We have many people that come into the industry as females, and I'm going to get on the female soapbox now, that would never approach a male in a gym, which I find shocking. But I just say, you're literally minimizing 50%, even 70% of your business opportunity, because gyms are frequented by 60 to 70% more men than women. So if you're a female trainer, for example, and you're only comfortable training women, then I would say don't go to a hardcore bodybuilding gym, because your opportunities there are going to be massively minimized. So you've really got to look at what type of person.
You're definitely right about location. It drives me mad when we run recruitment days and people turn up and go, I'll work anywhere. And we've got sites as far out as Ealing, but depends if you live on what side of London, but Ealing or Stratford, for example, opposite ends. You're like, well, the space in Ealing, that's miles away. Exactly. Don't come in saying you work anywhere. Come in with like, I've done the research, I've thought about this, and this is how long it'll take me to get to work. And I've had to think about this because I want to be a morning and lunchtime trainer. I want to be a lunchtime and evening trainer. So door to door, it will take me 35 minutes. So this is ideal commuting time. You're like, good. Okay. I get it, you thought this through, and I love when people have looked into the area. As you go through CVs, we'll talk through CVs and stuff in a second, before you set them up for the recruitment days. It's quite obvious, I find, when people just copy paste, send a CV to every company, and then just apply for every position, and then when you call them up to book them in, they're like, GymBox, which one are you? And you're like, oh,
Yeah,
they've not done the option. So
they just apply to any PT role, and it's like, look at what you want to do. Just don't qualify and go, I'm just going to apply for everything, because it's not viable for you. Think about what you want to do with that qualification.
If I was to leave GymBox now, like I know I've been doing this a little while, but if I was to leave GymBox now, I'd probably just apply for one a gym at a time, because it'd be quite a big move to move to that gym, and I'll be like, okay, I've scoped out the whole area, I've done my journey time, I've read about what company I'm going to move to, I know why I'm moving here, I love this gym, I love this setup, that works for me, and I'd apply for that gym so well that I'm near enough guaranteed to get the position.
Yeah.
And if you just do it like,
an interview.
and if you just apply correctly like that, you'll probably get the position. It's just when you just send CVs out anywhere and then you end up failing every interview, it's because you're saying you'll work anywhere, but you can't work anywhere. You need to decide if you want to be self-employed or employed, and you need to decide what model you want to work for, and then you need to decide which company you want to work for. And this information is not hard to find out. It's quite easy
Exactly. I call every applicant that applies, and I'm going to tell you 50% of those say, oh, I want a salary. Well, read the advert.
Why did you apply?
It's very clear what this role is, and it doesn't really give us a lot of confidence in your business abilities if you can't even understand what you're applying for.
Yeah. So let's talk about applying. So applying for a PT position, we'll move to as our second topic. So cover letter, CV. I know cover letters are changed quite a lot now, because a lot of time you fill in forms online. There might be a few questions you have to answer, which is kind of your cover letter. But your CV, it's not hard to write a good CV, because everyone's got a friend that can at least check over their CV. You don't need
and there's websites that do it for you.
Yeah. You don't need to throw loads of pictures on there. You don't need to throw just random colours and text. We just want to see where you've been, what like a little bit about who you are, where you've been, what you want to do, and your plan. We just want to kind of all your qualifications. We just want to see it all bullet point out, and then when there's a chance to write a bio or answer to a question, you've actually put effort into that. I'm sure you've seen some rubbish CVs as you're going through them.
I find very bizarre is that we of course we do need to see what you've achieved. We do, of course, that's incredibly relevant, but we don't want your life story, and we just want to know what you've achieved, and we want to know what you intend to do with that, or what you have been doing with that. And we want to hear about it from, what have you done in terms of work, not of what have you achieved only personally. Because I've seen, I've had people that have written bios and CVs I've seen that literally go into 8 paragraphs about I've worked here, I've done this, and all it is talking about them. And
we just want
we want to see, what have you done with that qualification, with that, so have you worked here? What did you do in those roles? What did you achieve for those clients? What did you achieve in that company? Was there, and if you haven't done the job yet, what would you like to achieve? What's your intention? What is any jobs you've had in the past that had any relevant skills that might be applicable to this role? It doesn't matter if you've been in a completely different industry, some of the skills may be relevant. So think about what you're applying for, and think about what you've done in the past that will help us see you have got the relevant skill set to do that job.
Yeah, to do the job, to get through the first stage, which is coming in for an assessment date. Some places just do interviews, but the prep needs to be the same. If you're going just for an interview, that's fine. At GymBox now, we run assessment days. We run like group assessment days, centralized assessment days for all of our sites. So, but regardless if it's an assessment day or an interview, you still need to prep the same. So let's talk about assessment days. I did do another podcast on this where I go into a little bit more detail, but you need the basics is turn up on time and be prepared. Be prepared.
One of the key skills for our job is punctuality, Jesus. And there's 2 things trainers need to do: count to 10 and turn up on time. You know,
Yeah.
that's the basic key element. You start with those two things and we go from there, right? If you
Yeah.
can't turn up on time for, you know, an interview, and look, we do totally understand that sometimes things happen. Traffic, transport, we're not
Hmm.
stupid. We get, you know, you can leave with extra time, and we've all been there where you get held up. In that case, just communicate. You know,
Yeah.
we're
A
not
quick
unaware
email.
that people fall in. Yeah, exactly. Just communicate. Just let us know. Not a problem. But when it's
Yeah.
when people just rock up an hour late, we're like, okay.
Or message on the day. Oh, what time is it again? You like these?
Yeah,
We, if anything, we message people too much. You know, you get in contact, I get in contact, just to make sure that on the day we know who's turning up and they understand what's coming ahead. And it's just like, if you've read any of this email, you would know where to be, what to wear,
yes,
and what to do.
exactly.
Yeah.
We,
Um.
we and we couldn't make it any easier. But of course, I do think that's a lot of people these days. Everything's quick, 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 and they're just not doing things fully. So I think that's just probably the society we live in.
So we'll talk about our assessment days quickly because you know, other companies might do something similar, and they'll always be similar to a certain extent. So with our assessment days, I normally run, me or another one of the PT managers would run a 30 to 40 minute presentation about the company. Now, if you're turning up to apply for the job, I think this presentation is just so important because this is where you find out all the exact numbers that you need to know, everything about the payment structure that we run, everything about where the company's been and what we offer. So the if you miss the presentation, you missed a big part of the reason you're there. So do not turn up late because if you miss that presentation, you don't even know what you're signing up for to a certain extent. So and then you end up leaving with loads of questions, which is just a silly reason to turn up. So turn up on time. The way we run, we have a 40-minute presentation and then we go into practical assessments and then business plans. So practical assessments, people do panic when we talk about practical assessments, and we always joke on the day, and I say to people, you know, we know this is the most awkward situation we could put you in, because the way we run our practical assessments is that we actually do you want to talk about the practical assessments instead of me just going on?
Okay, cool. So it's interesting you say that because people do find it awkward, but then I relay it back to people saying, okay, so we're in a room here in a gym and we're giving you another personal trainer to do
Mm,
a practical thing with. Okay. And in the term of practical, what we're looking for is a brief consultation where we just want to find out if you can ask the relevant questions to find out what that person needs to do and where they want to go and how you can get there safely. You don't need to go into a life story. You don't need to talk
yeah.
about nutrition. This isn't a paid client. This is a fact-finding conversation
Yeah.
where you just make sure. It's also a little bit for us to see what personality you bring to that consultation and what building with that person, rapport you're building. Now, people say it's awkward, but is it awkward? Because when you're doing that with someone you just met on the gym floor, it's exactly the same as someone you've
Hmm.
just met in that room just
Yeah.
there. In fact, I've done assessments with people. They've ended up saying, "Can I train with you?" Because
Yeah. Yeah.
that person is still a potential client.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
though it's role play, you still have never met that person before, exactly as it would be with someone in the gym. So just treat it exactly as it had been as
Hmm.
someone you've met on the gym. Never be embarrassed because
Yeah.
we have to speak to people all day long and ask these questions. And this is the first place where we can see if you're able to do that.
Hmm.
You don't have to, dig really deep psychologically on what their want is and stuff like
Hmm.
that. We just want to get an idea that you know what you need to find out, and then
Hmm.
if you was on a one-to-one consultation, then you do it anyway, which way you want. But we need to know if you have an understanding of what you need to find out in that consultation.
Yeah.
Then from that consultation, we would then be asking you to do a screening thing with that person: mobility, movement, assessment. So we want to make sure that you've checked that person is safe to do anything that you've got in mind to do with them,
Hmm.
because sometimes people give you information and say, oh, I've got no back problems but I might have a knee problem. But then once you get them to do a squat or a hinge, then all of a sudden they have got restriction, but they just don't realize it's a muscular imbalance. So you need to look at just, and I know a lot of this stuff might seem quite scary if you've just qualified, because, oh, how do I know this stuff? But you don't need to know huge amounts of biomechanics. You just need to know the basics of safety.
Hmm.
You need to know if someone's squatting and their back is arching, if their knees are not going forward and their knees are
Yeah.
pulling back, if the ankles are not moving. They're basic things that you should know as a PT.
Yeah.
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 So, and what we do once we're with you on that assessment, we might then ask you a few further questions, and we're kind of digging a bit deeper to see how deep your knowledge is. And trust me, we have come across newly qualified PTs whose knowledge is so extensive, it's mind-blowing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That have maybe just qualified but got so much, done so much learning and research and many years training, and passionate about it. They know so much more. If you don't know the deep parts of it, we will then give you clues and helps, and so
Yeah.
you will leave that assessment of gaining something anyway.
Yeah.
You'll come maybe with limited knowledge and you'll leave with a lot more knowledge. So it's a learning process for people too.
Yeah.
Once we've done the mobility and this movement assessment, we'll then just ask you to put in a few exercises that you might program for that person based on what they want to achieve and what they've said their goals are. With those exercises, we'll ask you to coach them, demonstrate. First of all, we want to see your demonstration verbal instruction, and then we want to see how you would then coach them through the movement, whilst looking all the time for any restrictions, limitations, any corrections that need to be made, checking in with that person the whole time. How does that feel?
Yeah.
Where are you feeling it? Does it feel, making sure that monitoring and that connection is going on, because that's what we're doing on the gym floor every day. That's how we get clients, by showing them we have the knowledge and the understanding and the care.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then once they've done that, we then just ask them a couple of questions about what they would do program wise, what would rep range for, different sort of objective, if it's strength, if it's conditioning, if it's endurance, just to find out if they have a basic understanding of programming. And then they'll swap and they'll do it back on each other.
Yeah. So yeah, you get paired up with another PT that's on the recruitment day, and one of our PT managers will then go with you. And where I was saying, like, the awkward side is like, it's you are with a PT you've just met, you've got a PT manager watching you, and maybe another PT manager just walking around. That can be quite an extreme scenario, but like the more extreme scenarios you put yourself in your life, the more confident you're going to get. The more uncomfortable you get, if you can get over that, then you'll be comfortable in a normal situation. So we know it might be a bit uncomfortable, but if you can handle that situation, you'll be able to handle the gym floor. If you can handle running a consultation and a practical session while somebody's watching you, we know that you can definitely do that on the gym floor. And what we're doing on these recruitment days.
Let me tell you a quick story about what you're saying there, because what you're saying is really makes me think of this scenario with a guy I've worked with for many years at bank. And when I did his assessment many years ago, and he just qualified, he literally was, and he started warming me up, and he started chatting to me about, did you get the diet I sent you? And I'm like, sorry. He's going, did you get the diet? Is it workable? And he started talking to me like it was really happening. And I was like, and as soon as I realised what he was doing, I bought into it. And I was like, and then he had a conversation with me, literally, like we've met on the gym floor, we've spoken about everything, like he sent me,
right.
And he threw himself into that role, because ultimately we are doing role play with these people every day. We are speaking these things with them, and he's turned out to be one of the most successful trainers I've ever worked with, and still is today. So the more you commit to that scenario, the better a trainer you will be.
And the guys that we've got running our recruitment days, our PT manager team, they're very good. They're very switched on.
Amazing.
And they'll just keep asking you questions, and they're not trying to catch you out. They'll just be like, "What are you doing, mate?" You're like, "So why are you doing this?"
Some of the most highly skilled people
just,
I've ever met, and easy to get on with too.
And it's just like, I'm just seeing his shoulder mobility range at the moment. Oh, okay, cool. And then what are you going to do next? Cool. Why are you doing this? And what rep range? And they'll just ask you questions and plot answers for just because they want to see your understanding and thought process. But the management team we got doing this are incredibly good, and I can only talk from our GymBox side. So we put people through practical assessments. You might not always do a practical assessment, but something you definitely will have to do is prep a business plan. So we'll do a whole section on business plans. So what is a business plan? Ronni, what's a business plan?
It's an overview of what, first of all, it's your journey it's basically like your client journey, right? So it's like, where are you starting at, and what do you want to achieve, and how do you intend to get there? What do you need to do to get there? Plan it out exactly as you would if it was a client journey. You look at your beginning point, look at your end point, break it down into regular intervals, maybe a month at a time. Month 1, what do I need to do to get towards month 3? How many times a day do I need to speak to people? How many people do I need to get booked in my diary for free sessions? How many of those free sessions do I need to convert? once I've converted them, how many people do I want to be training by the end of month one? Not people, sorry, how many sessions do I want to be delivering?
Mm-hmm.
And then what's your thought process on how you're going to do that generating of clients? How are you going to speak to them, advertise yourself? What do you want to achieve ultimately financially? So, what's your earning expectation? What would you
Yeah.
like to make out of it?
And
All of these things. And
yeah, you should really make a business plan, even if you want to be a freelance mobile PT in the park. There's nothing wrong with that. You should still write a business plan for yourself. And the way I like to kind of break down the business plan is kind of, what's your lead gen plan? What's a client's journey look like with you? And then what are your financial and career expectations? So you should do this, and like, it's up to you how you want to present it. Like, we have some people that come with PowerPoints, a book, they've got a million pages printed out, and you're like, okay. And then some people like,
some people come with a sheet of paper, or some people come with nothing.
Yeah, and if you come with nothing, our PT manager team will get the answers out of you. But the more prepared you are, you'll convince yourself this is the right role for you. Once you've thought something through, you'll be like, yep, this is the right role for me. I'm going to show you how I do it. And when you do a business plan, sometimes you're sitting opposite someone that knows nothing about you, so they might have not read your CV yet. So you might be like, sit down in front of someone, okay, who are you and what do you do? And then you explain who you are, what you offer, and then like, what's your lead gen plan? How do you plan on growing your business? Like, what hours do you want to work? Especially in our self-employed model, you run your own diary. So are you a morning and lunch trainer? Your lunch and evening trainer? What hours are you going to come in? How did you meet people before? If this is your first job, well, how do you feel about floor walking? What do you think your challenges will be? And just be honest and just talk about what your plan is. Then when you sign someone up, what does a client's journey look like with you? Especially in the self-employed world, what packages do you offer? Do you do 12-week blocks? Do you do 1 a week, 2 a week, 3 a week? Do you do a monthly direct debit model? It's like, well, we don't know. You tell us what you offer. What's it like working with you? And then kind of the final kind of section is like financial and career expectations. Like, where do you want to go? Like, we have people come to us and say, I want to make this amount of money. I want to do this, this, and this. Cool. Other people like, I really want to build myself up in this company. I want to get into more of a mentoring, teaching role to go alongside my PT role. So I'm quite keen for your PT manager role in the next year or two. Like, okay, you just explain what your career journey looks like. And then also, this is your chance. I always say with these interviews, if you've thought the process through, you're turning up to the day to say, this is me, come have a look at me. This is how I do PT in my practical. This is what my business will look like, and we discuss your business plan. Then it's like, okay, you've seen me, I've got questions for you. And like, it is a bit of a two-way interview at the end. You need to kind of say, I've shown you that I'm the right person for this role. Mm-hmm. Here are my questions.
For me? Yeah,
exactly. Here are my questions. Exactly. Can you just clear up this? What happens with this happens? You prep your questions that are bothering you or things you need to know to make sure everything's ticked off. And what I would do is write all your questions out somewhere, even if it's on notes in your phone. So when you turn up on the day, most of those might be covered in the presentation. Like the presentation I give at GymBox, that started off as 3 slides. It's now up to like 12 or 15. Because every time someone asks me a question,
you need to know.
Every time someone asks me a question, I kept putting it in. Yeah, that's a good point. I'll add that on.
Yeah. Should be saying that. Yeah.
But like, if you get to the end and we ask you, have you got any questions for us? And you go, no, you've actually answered all of them. Then great. Or if you have got questions, they're prepped, so so you leave there satisfied. You always just want to leave, especially with the practical.
It's a one opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah, especially with the practical and delivering a business plan. There's always things you could have said better. There's always conversations you could have had better.
And listen, nerves always come into play as well.
Definitely.
I've done assessments on guys that have been trainers for many, many years, and they fluff it on assessments and they go blank. And because it's that someone watching you thing, it's not that you don't. And we know this, like, believe it or not, it's not always about what you say. It's about what you do. And quite often someone might, for the first 5 minutes, be really tense or really, fluffing. And then all of a sudden they tend to forget you're there after 5 minutes, and then they start to come into their own. And we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for people that, are prepared. And also you can really relate this, what you're talking about, preparation for the day, is if you had a client, okay, their opportunity of success is going to be completely elevated if they're prepared properly for everything that's involved, right? You're not going to, if a client wants to do it, I'm talking about Ironman because I know that's what you're doing, but if a client wants to do an Ironman, okay, you're not going to get them sprinting like 15 miles on day one. You're going to prepare them over time, right, to build up to the end result. And that's what we're looking for. We don't want to see the end result. We want to see that, that you know what you need to do to get to the end result. So the more prepared you are, the more you'll benefit and the more we'll benefit.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, and that all starts with the reason why you're applying for position. So, once you choose your club, once you choose your PT option, you say, this is the right one for me. You then choose the company you want to work for based on location and the club itself. Then you then go, right, I'm going to make a plan for this specific club because I know all about this club because I've been reading into it. And then you present that on the day. You think about potential practical sessions you might deliver. Think about if you turn up to GymBox and you've watched one of my YouTube videos or you've watched this and you've not prepped in your head different scenarios of how you'd run a practical session, we're giving you all the tools before you even get there. And we never, and also we send this in emails like, be prepared for this. If you've got the time, please prep a business plan. There is the time to prep, and you put that little bit of effort in, it'll shine through on the day. Because at the end of the day, we're looking for... We're not
asking for something like, a booklet, are we? We're just asking for just the basic information.
Yeah, and like some people will go over the top because that's just how they are. No, I would, because that's just how I am. But like, and you know that. But like, it's I'll get the whole class then. I'll plug my TV.
Yeah, no. Oh my God, yours would be like. Well, I know what yours would be like. I mean, I'll be like, okay, can you now help me run my business?
Yeah.
But that's the thing as well. Listen, and we. Because I want to go back to sort of the why as well.
No, you go back to the why because we're going to start summing up in a sec. So you go back there.
Right, because the why. Listen, so I know that you've come across this a million times. I've been recruiting the guys for GymBox for 15 years, and if I had £1 for every time I said to someone, "Why do you want to be a PT?" and that because I like training, that's not enough.
Yeah.
It's not enough. You have to come with more than that for an interview. Yeah. And how am I going to build a business? I'm going to build a big social media page. That's not enough. You have to go much further deeper into it than that. If you really understand why you want to do the job, what do you want to get out of it? What do you want to give out of it? Where do you want to run please do your thoughts around it, because you will then save yourself a lot of time with running to interviews that are roles that are not for you. There's no point going to a role for a GymBox or an employed model that you've got to pay rent for if you never want to pay rent. It's just, if it's never, if you get there and go, oh, actually, also you have to have really realistic expectations about what the job involves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like,
so if you do want to be freelance, be realistic about that.
Yeah. I think about like some of the jobs I've applied for. Literally every job I applied for, I've got. Because like I've only applied for one job at a time. So I started my career in Virgin. I've done just under 3 years in Virgin. I then went to CrossFit. I enjoyed CrossFit, but I just I'd have talked about this on another podcast or before. Like I loved it, but then I didn't like being in a big empty space by myself all day. And I was like, I want to get back in, and I wasn't around anybody at all. I wanted to get back into the gym environment. So then I applied for Fitness First because I was like. I wanted to be, I wanted to be in Fitness First. I wanted to be around PTs again. So that's when I applied for Fitness First because I saw the model and I knew where it was and I liked that gym and I was like, let's go here. So I applied there and it was like, my reasons because of this, and this, I want to be back around a team again. And then like, Fitness First was great for me. I was in Fitness First for nearly 4 years. And then it was only when GymBox Cannon Street opened, I saw Cannon Street as an opportunity to move to a new gym, surround myself by more experienced trainers. I mean, the people that I saw was working out, I was like, I want to be around a team like this because I was very much into my Olympic lifting, and I was like, I need to be in this environment with this kit, with these trainers, because that will help me improve. And those are all my reasons applying. So like, it was never 10 CVs, 10 different gyms. It was like one CV, one gym, because I'm going to that place because it's the right fit for me and I've thought this through. So just one thing on that actually. Sorry. No, you finish and I'll talk about.
No, I was going to say, I would totally agree with you because being in a gym environment makes you a better trainer.
Yeah.
I am not the trainer that I was then that I am now, and that is not because of all the courses I've done. That's because of the people I've had the pleasure and the privilege to
Mm.
work with, and the skill sets that we've swapped, and training with them, talking with them. I've learned more from other trainers than I've learned in any course I've ever done.
Yeah.
Business wise and training wise. So even if you're not that skilled at the beginning, that isn't a reason to think, oh, this isn't for me. All you need to have to do is to have a basic understanding and want to be self-employed. And then if you have those two wants, then everything else can be taught and developed over time.
Yeah, I was just going to say to finish this applying section up because it's important to know. So I'm just saying now I have one CV, one direction, and I go one route only. If you do that but it doesn't work out, because you failed the interview for whatever reason. So when we fail people for a reason because this ain't the right fit for them right now. And it's not a never, it's a go away, work on a skill set, come back in the future. So if you we give feedback at the end of our recruitment days for the people that don't make it, but feedback is feedback. Feedback is how you improve. As hard as it is, you've always got to take feedback as okay, I'm going to take that on, I'm going to do something about it, and then I'm going to move on from that. But you do think about it and then you adapt. So if you go not just to us, to another position that you really wanted to go to, but it doesn't work out because you might not have the experience, you're not the right fit for that team, or whatever reason you failed the practical, you then need to take that on positively and just go, right, I need to go work on this. And then you have another direction, you look for a second option, and then you apply correctly for that. And that second option might be the one you get into, and then in the future you can then apply for your other position. So it's just important to know that if you do fail, that's fine. You failed for a reason. It's important that you just take that positively, go work on the areas you need. But if you prepare yourself, you're setting yourself up for success, really. So Roni,
And following up on
let's
that point,
yeah.
so just very quickly, we have had situations where we've had people where we've even offered them an opportunity to come back because
Mm-hmm.
we feel that they've got something, but they might be nervous, or they might not have been prepared properly. So if we feel that someone has got something to offer, and potentially they could be a good trainer in the
Yeah.
club, we're not going to say oh, that's it, you never get another opportunity. Even if it could be in a couple of weeks, go and prepare this part better and come back
Yeah,
and see us.
yeah, yeah. We've done that a month ago, and it was literally like, I like you, but I can't pass
Yeah,
you. You haven't passed the criteria we need for you to get through the day. You passed a chunk of it. You failed this bit. I can't pass you
yeah,
because otherwise we have no consistency in our process. And it's just like, but we would like you to come back more prepared. And I think that's
exactly.
but it's what we
So
do.
it's
I'm sure
important
other
people know
companies might
that.
do something
Yeah.
similar. Right, just to summarise then, to wrap this up, to wrap up our 30-minute podcast has gone to 57 minutes already.
Well, you're lucky it's only 57 with me. Could have been
Yeah,
4
I've
hours.
been moving us on as well. Right, so
Oh, no, don't even get me started.
to summarise then, so 3 key points. Think of the model that you want to apply for, then really take the time to look into the company that you're going to apply for, and then finally prep for the position. So model, company, prep for the position. If you put energy and thought process into each of those, then you're going to go to the right place for you. You happy with that, Roni? Any final
Yeah, yeah,
thoughts?
yeah.
No? Happy?
I would just add to that. You know what? One of the key skills of being a trainer is be personable. Yeah. So like, if you're
Mm,
going to come, you can do all of that work, but you also need to be very upbeat, and you don't need to be bouncing off the walls, but have some
yeah,
energy around you, and have some
yeah.
have some good attitudes, because quite often we can have people come in and we can go really, like, really great trainer, really knew their stuff, but was just really difficult to talk to, was really, so try and be
Mm,
personable, because
best you
what
can.
we it's one thing being a great trainer, it's another thing being able to communicate with people.
Excellent. Well, we hope you found this useful. We will drop in a little plug about GymBox because we both work for GymBox. We work for the GymBox Academy. We run all the recruitment process for that academy. So, if you've done your wire, you look through all the models, and the self-employed rent-based model works for you, and a GymBox site is in your reach, and you like one of our clubs in particular, and you want to work for GymBox, how do they apply, Roni?
Well, you can either apply on the GymBox website. That will take you to a link for a job site that will come through with your application. We'll then get back to you as soon as we get your application. We'll give you a call. just find out a little bit about you, make sure you're aware it's a self-employed role, or if you're unsure of what you want to do, we can always welcome you to check out what the option is. And then you can also get, if you're in the club, you can also apply on reception. That will get put through to the the PT manager in the club, or you'll be put in the right area. And then once we get your application, we'll call you in.
Good. Right. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you, Ronni, for coming on. How do people find you?
Thank you for having me.
How do people, if someone had a question?
Instagram,
Instagram,
Ronni McKay, RonniMckay. Same with Facebook. I'm at GymBox Bank pretty much 24/7. So you can always get me from bank inquiries.
And if someone wanted to send you an email, what's your email? Your GymBox email?
bankvpt at gymbox.co.uk.
VPT. There we go. So if you want to ask Ronni a question directly, drop Ronni a message. If you wanted to come to have a recruitment day and find out more about what we offer, then please just go on the website or drop Ronni a message directly, and we'll get you involved and we'll start the process from there. If you're going somewhere else and you found this useful, then just like this episode wherever you're watching it. Leave a comment or ask us questions in the comments, and we'll get back to you. Right, thank you for coming on, Ronni. Thanks everyone for watching or listening, and I'll be back next week with another episode on Coach's Corner. Right, thanks guys, bye bye.